As we celebrate Pride Month, we often talk about San Francisco or New York's Stonewall riots as laying the groundwork for gay rights. But in a new book, my next guest makes the case that the LGBTQ community here in Washington, D.C. played a pivotal role in the fight for LGBTQ equality. Joining me now is Tablet Magazine columnist Jamie Kirchick. He is the author of the lengthy book I have here in my hand, Secret City, The Hidden History of Gay Washington. Jamie, thank you very much for coming to the Sunday Show.
Thank you, Jonathan, for having me.
Okay, so why write this book, and why do you argue that the revolution was lit here?
Mm-hmm. Well, I wrote the book because Washington is a city of secrets, particularly since World War II, when the United States becomes a global superpower and starts building a bureaucracy for managing secrets, and homosexuality became the most dangerous secret. And so I thought that a book exploring our history, our national political history, through the most dangerous secret of all, homosexuality, would make a really interesting book. And as for why Washington has this place in LGBTQ history, well, it's the seat of our national government. And the earliest gay rights activism really started in Washington with the founding of the Mattachine Society of Washington, led by Frank Kameny, who was the first government employee who was fired because he was gay, who decided to actually challenge it. The first picket for gay rights is held outside the White House in 1965. And then Washington in 1975, the federal government lifts its ban on gay people serving in the civil service. And so Washington, D.C. effectively becomes one of the first cities to protect gay people in their employment.
Let's talk about one other person who you write about, Frank Kameny, who's like one of the granddaddies of the movement. And he got fired. And as you said, that this was a city of secrets where homosexuality was something you hid. And yet Bayard Rustin was someone who was never in the closet. Black, gay man, out, close advisor to Dr. Martin Luther King, the architect of the March on Washington.
Right.
Talk about his role in Secret City.
Well, yeah, 2 weeks before that march, Strom Thurmond, the leading segregationist senator from South Carolina, basically outs him to the extent that he could be outed.
Right.
But he brings up an old arrest record for a homosexual offense in California about a decade before. And he just announces this on the floor of the Senate, trying to basically ruin the March on Washington, trying to cause a scandal, trying to give them bad press. But Martin Luther King and the other leaders of the march decided to stand by Rustin and defend him. And Rustin really at that point becomes the first public figure to survive an outing. And he goes on to have a very successful career as a civil rights and human rights activist after that.
And, as I've mentioned, and as you've talked about, your book is about the history of the LGBTQ movement in America, centered on Washington. But as we have seen over, my gosh, over the last few months, but certainly within the last few weeks, just an onslaught of vitriol in state capitals, in cities, whether they're, going against Drag Queen Library Hour, or as the case in Texas, where the Republican Party platform flat out is anti-LGBTQ.
Well, they wouldn't even allow the Log Cabin Republicans to come to their convention. And the Log Cabin Republicans are a gay Republican organization. This is a real throwback almost to the 90s.
Yeah.
I recall that was a big controversy in the 1990s with the Texas GOP banning their own gay supporters. And I would just point them back to, in 1978, Ronald Reagan was preparing to run for president. There was a ballot initiative in the state of California to ban gay school teachers. And Ronald Reagan came out against it the week before, and he was actually a decisive voice in defeating that referendum. So I would just urge those Texas GOPers to take Ronald Reagan's example on this. I don't think they'll listen to me.
And one other thing, NBC News' Ben Collins and Doha Madani had a story that went up on Friday about anti-LGBTQ threats fueled by Internet's far-right machine shut down trans rights and drag events. Why do you think the far right is so unnerved? Why did they have us in their crosshairs?
Well, I think if you look at the kind of broad sweep of gay history in this country, it's often 2 steps forward and 1 step back. So after the Stonewall Uprising, and you have the kind of gay liberation leading the way in the early 1970s. There's a backlash in the mid and late 1970s. After Ellen comes out, and there's all this gay cultural visibility in the 90s. In the early 2000s, there's the federal marriage amendment to enshrine anti-gay beliefs in the Constitution to ban gay marriage. And now I think we're again seeing a lot of more visibility for gay people in our society, for trans people in our society. And there's a backlash. But ultimately, when you look at this history, I'm generally optimistic.
We've got less than 20 seconds left, but I'm going to read my favorite part from Jamie's book. This is a great tease. It's chapter 33. It was 3:15 on the morning of June 26, 1980, and Congressman Bob Livingston was extraordinarily drunk, hiding in the congressional gym beneath the Rayburn House office building, petrified that a team of highly trained right-wing homosexual assassins working on behalf of Ronald Reagan was about to kill him. Girl. Jamie Kirchick, thank you very much for coming to the Sunday Show.
I think you really
this morning.
sold the book this morning. Thanks a lot.
with a lead paragraph like that, it sold itself. And tune in next Sunday as I cap off Pride Month by sitting down with the pioneering LGBTQ plus members of the stage and screen, including Laverne Cox, Harvey Fierstein, Wilson Cruz, and Tony Award-winning playwright Michael R. Jackson. Watch Pride of Stage and Screen with Jonathan Capehart next Sunday at 10 p.m. Eastern on MSNBC and streaming on Peacock.